Meta-narrative is a phrase that always piques my interest. I've consumed a lot of media over the years, games, books, movies, what have you. So things that are genre or medium aware and play with expectations, or aren't what they initially seem to be, or just use that awareness to do something unique tend to hold a special place in my heart. It's one of the core reasons that Undertale became my favorite game. As usual, I'm showing up incredibly late to the party on this one, but hey, I still had a good time while I was there, so I'm Kalice, and I recommend Pony Island. Normally with a game like this, I'd need to dance around spoilers, even with the early game content, but the other shoe drops pretty quickly, and then the real game concept gets explored from there. Also, the Steam store page straight up tells you about what you learn in the first half hour or so I feel comfortable talking about those things in this video. The cheerful facade of Pony Island really doesn't take any time to begin peeling away. Immediately upon hitting the new game button, the happy main menu fades as the game zooms out and the display changes to an old, worn-down monitor, and oppressive thrumming begins in the background. A logo for System Tech Incorporated slowly appears, and you're brought to a new, much less colorful main menu. Attempting to hit the Start Game button causes static to appear, and you simply remain on the main menu. And after multiple attempts, Start Game changes to Error. The credits are grayed out, so at this point the only option left is the Options menu, which is full of some unconventional settings, some of which you can't select, but one of them is to fix the Start menu. Toggling this option to On causes the back button to fall down, so you have to drag it back into place to actually select it and return to the main menu. Actually clicking on Start Game now causes a weird pixel blob thingy to replace Start Game, and clicking on that brings you to a screen with some code on it where you can drag a green arrow into a box and thus actually cause the code to go. I'm pretty sure this isn't exactly how real-life coding works, but whatever. This finally actually fixes the Start button. Clicking it brings you to a sort of slow loading screen that's gets blocked by another one of those pixel blobs, so you have to fix the code again. As the loading resumes, text appears above the loading bar that seems to get mad at you for fixing the code, claiming that it would have worked and they tested it a bunch of times. Then it welcomes you to Pony Island. Now you can finally actually play the game. And it's a simplistic 2D black and white runner where you play as a pony that jumps over a few obstacles. After reaching the goal, you're brought to a screen where you start infinitely gaining levels. These do nothing. After another level, you're brought to a screen with a microtransaction of sorts. Experience the rest of Pony Island, insert your soul to continue. I didn't know this game was published by EA. After being on the screen for a while, you enter another coding puzzle. Solving it crashes the game, which allows you to close the window for the game and return to the in-game desktop. There's a bunch of programs here, one of which is actually another simple pony-based game you can play, which is neat. In the Messenger program, you can respond to someone with the username Hopeless Soul, who claims to be someone trapped in this machine, just like you. They have a plan to get out, but need your help. Around this time, you start getting messages from someone else with the username Lucifer, upset with you for escaping from the game. Hopeless Soul tells you that in order to escape from the machine, you'll need to destroy 3 core program files. Lucifer and the Soul start messaging you simultaneously, culminating with Lucifer forcibly closing your chat box with the Soul, replacing what you try to type to him with Yes Master, and ultimately sending you back into Pony Island with some new surprises this time. By this point, you've probably gathered that Pony Island is a wholly unique experience. It's a game about playing a game made by fucking Satan, who is apparently terrible at coding. He's trying to steal your soul, you're trying to exploit vulnerabilities to find a way to escape, while being helped by someone in a similar situation to yours. It's a really cool narrative concept that is taken full advantage of throughout the whole experience. I was constantly and consistently shocked, delighted, and at times horrified by what the game had in store for me next. And because that was such a big part of what I enjoyed, I'm going to stop being specific with the story now. The gameplay, broadly speaking, falls into 3 categories. There is the Pony Island runner that Satan has made, which does actually wind up having much more going on mechanically, though not all of that is thanks to old Lucy. There are enemies of varying types, some of which try to run into the pony, some of which shoot stuff at the pony. These can be dispatched with a laser aimed and fired with the mouse. When firing the laser, a meter on the pony's body depletes. If it runs out, no more laser for a while. It recharges when the laser is not being fired. This goes a long way towards turning the runner sections into something that's actually fun to play. Timing jumps while aiming shots could actually be a decent challenge. Like, it's not Ikaruga, but it's not free. Which is important because, wouldn't you know it, in Pony Island, you spend quite a bit of time controlling that pony. With the additional introduction of another core mechanic, wings that allow the pony to glide by holding the jump button, the pony bits of the game do wind up providing a varied and interesting challenge. I actually had enough fun with it that I would have appreciated an endless mode where you can just run for as long as you can while dealing with anything and everything the game had to offer in terms of enemies and platforming. Second up is the coding/hacking puzzle bits. I kind of glazed over how these function before. It looks more complicated and intimidating than it is, and the game starts off simple and easy with it before ramping up complexity, so it follows one of the core principles of good game design. Basically, your task is to guide a key from its start point to an end point indicated by a sort of keyhole. There are various boxes on each puzzle that can hold actions that the key will perform when it reaches that box. Actions can be removed or put into these boxes at any time. If all of these boxes are filled with something, the key will start moving downward, following the action of each box that it comes to. Things like returning to the start of the route, moving to the right, or even simply progressing further down the path. If any box is not filled, the key will not move. Following these basic principles, you have to ensure that the key will follow a route to the keyhole. I'm generally speaking not particularly fond of puzzle games. For me, I need a context that I enjoy to give me motivation to solve the puzzles. Hacking Satan's shoddily made game to save my soul is a context I can very much get into. I mentioned before that this isn't really how real coding works, but it does kind of evoke the feeling of coding or hacking, so I think the theme works. Plus, I'm always an advocate for fun over realism in games. Like with the runner sections, new mechanics are introduced regularly, none of the puzzles felt like busy work, and I always felt like they were having me do something that was new or an interesting twist on something I was already familiar with. There's also a bit of flavor with writing from Satan in the code discouraging you from doing what you need to do, while text presumably from Hopeless Soul encourages what you should do to progress. The third type of gameplay is sort of an umbrella for some of the miscellaneous things you're doing throughout the game. I'm going to dub it navigation, though not exactly the kind of navigation most other games would have. This is almost all some form of menu navigation, be it messing with options to fix the start button, or trying to figure something out on the in-game desktop. Really, I just mention it because the game delivers narrative through these sections, and occasionally has a puzzle of some kind to solve. It's a nice change of pace from the runner and coding sections. Genuinely, my favorite moment of the whole game has to do with something clever happening with the menus. This is actually somewhat tied into the collectible of the game. Hidden throughout the game are 24 tickets, most of which can be found in the navigation sections of the game. Some are hidden in simple ways, some in more complicated ways. Getting a ticket actually seems to print it out from the device you're playing Satan's Pony Island on, and you can see hands collecting the ticket. So that's kind of neat/interesting. Looking for them was fun and encouraged me to explore everything the game had to offer. There is some content behind finding all of them, and there are a few other secrets tucked away in the game. Beating the game unlocks a chapter select, so if you want to see everything, you don't need to worry about missing anything. I'd advise finishing the game, then if you want to grab all the collectibles and see any extra content you may have missed, going back with a guide to get everything you missed. I'll link the guide I used in the description. If you don't want to use a guide, almost all of the secrets are tied into an achievement of some kind, except for one that's first part is tied to an achievement. So grabbing all of those achievements is a good indication that you've seen all of the content. Normally, I don't care for achievements, but in this case, I do think it's a wonderful and easy way to mark completion. At least this is true of the Steam version, I'm not sure of any of the others. I think that content is super interesting and worth seeing, but ultimately it's your call if that's something you're interested in. Pony Island is a game that is more than the sum of its parts. The runner sections are fun and sometimes challenging, the puzzle sections are interesting and clever, but the story tying everything together into an incredibly unique conflict is what makes Pony Island something special. It's a game that takes simple ideas and gameplay and twists and turns them out with every possible variation. I genuinely had no idea what to expect from the next moment of gameplay. I was absolutely entranced and fascinated from the moment I had to fight against the terrible code to even start the game to the moment I had finished everything Pony Island had to offer. I really do recommend this game for anyone looking for something different. It is absolutely one of the most unique experiences I've ever had the delight of partaking in. Also, the soundtrack is fucking amazing. Satan can't code halfway competently, but he's apparently an amazing composer. I wonder if that's a Devil Went Down to Georgia reference. Also, ponies are cute. This has been Kalice. Thanks for watching. You can like the video, subscribe, or share this video around if you enjoyed it and want to. My Patreon exists if you'd like to support me. There's neat bonuses like my scripts and raw recording sessions, so feel free to go look at that. Speaking of, big thanks to all of my current patrons like Ash. Keep loving what you love, and I'll see you next time with something else.